This story is titled, My Fiancé Told Me That We Should Take a Break in Our Relationship Before She Left for a 6-week trip with her girlfriends. After her trip, she acted like nothing happened. All right, listen up, fellow Redditors. I never thought I'd be one of those guys posting about relationship drama. But here I am. Just a heads up, this is going to be a multi-part story since there's too much shit to unpack in one post. So I'm Alex, 29 male. And until about a month ago, I was engaged to Casey, 27 female, my girlfriend of 3 years. We met at my buddy Ryan's birthday party. She was friends with Ryan's girlfriend. First time I saw her, she was laughing at some stupid joke I made about the burnt burgers, and I was hooked. She had this smile that would make you forget whatever bullshit was going on in your life. We hit it off right away, started texting that night, went on our first date 3 days later, and the rest was history. She moved in after about a year. I proposed at the 2-year mark, and we were full on planning our wedding for August 10th. Casey was everything I thought I wanted. Smart, funny, cute as hell, and we just clicked, you know? She got along great with my friends. My parents loved her. My mom was already calling her daughter way before we got engaged, and I got along with her family too. 3 years together, and I genuinely thought we were solid. I'm not going to pretend I'm some perfect boyfriend. I work too much sometimes, I forget important dates occasionally, and yeah, I can be stubborn as hell when I think I'm right. But I always had her back, always supported her dreams, and I thought she did the same for me. We'd been saving like crazy for the past 2 years. Had about $25,000 stashed away in a joint account for both the wedding and a down payment on a house we were planning to buy next year. I was putting in extra shifts at work to add more to the savings, while Casey was handling most of the wedding planning. She works in marketing and has a better eye for that kind of stuff anyway. But out of nowhere, I started noticing that there were signs that shit wasn't as perfect as I thought. Little things that didn't seem like a big deal at the time, but now feel like flashing warning lights I was too stupid to see. For the last few months, Casey started getting really secretive with her phone. Like she'd be smiling at messages but would flip her phone over when I walked by. If I asked who she was texting, she'd just say, just the girls, or work stuff, and change the subject. I never pushed it because I'm not the jealous type and I trusted her. Yeah, I know, I'm a dumbass. She also started spending way more nights out with the girls, like 2 to 3 times a week when it used to be maybe once or twice a month. Again, I didn't think much of it. I figured maybe she was stressed about the wedding and needed to blow off steam. I was working late a lot anyway, so it's not like I was sitting at home alone waiting for her. Most nights anyway. But at some point, especially after that time where I tried to get the spark back, I cooked her favorite meal after a long workday, and she barely touched it. Just said she wasn't hungry and went straight to bed. That's when I decided to see what's up. Hey, everything okay with you? You've been going out a lot more lately. You happy? She blinked at me like I'd asked if she wanted to move to Mars. Yeah, of course. Why? I don't know, just feels like something's off. Like, are you good? With us, I mean? She sighed, real dramatic, like I'd accused her of something. Babe, I'm just trying to enjoy my time before the wedding. You know how stressful all this planning is. You trust me, right? I told her, obviously, just making sure you're happy. Not convinced with the answer. She gave me this little smile and leaned over to kiss my cheek. I am. You don't need to worry about me. And that was that. I let it go. Should I have pushed more? Probably. But hindsight's 20/20, and I was too busy being a clueless idiot to see what was right in front of me. About 2 months before the wedding, Casey mentioned wanting to take this epic trip to Europe with her old college friends, 5 girls she barely talked about, and I'd only met a couple of times at random parties. Said it was some kind of sisterhood reunion thing before she got married. 6 weeks in Europe, France, Italy, Spain, the works. I thought the timing was weird as hell, not gonna lie. 6 weeks in Europe when we're supposed to be finalizing wedding details? But I didn't want to be that controlling asshole who tells his fiancée she can't hang with her friends. Plus, she insisted it was important to her, and the girls had been planning it for months. I said something like, if it means that much to you, go for it. We can handle the wedding stuff when you get back. She seemed so happy when I agreed that I figured I'd made the right call. First red flag I should have paid attention to. She booked her flight the next day. If they'd been planning for months, why wasn't her flight already booked? About a week before her trip, she asked me if I'd mind if she handled the last wedding payment. Said she wanted to take the stress off my plate. I didn't think twice. Just handed over the info. I remember feeling weird about it. She was weirdly insistent, like she was in a rush to settle everything before she left. She even joked, one less thing for you to worry about, babe. And I let it slide. I didn't want to seem like I didn't trust her. Maybe I didn't want to add more tension when things already felt off. Or maybe I was just tired. tired of wedding talk, tired of second guessing. So I let it go. The night before her trip, we were going over some wedding details, seating chart stuff, finalizing the song list, all that boring crap. She seemed distracted the whole time, constantly checking her phone and smiling. When I asked if everything was okay, she just said, "Everything's perfect." She was extra affectionate that night too. So the next morning, I drove her to the airport like the supportive fiancé I thought I was supposed to be. I even helped her check her bags and walked her all the way to security because I'm just that nice of a guy. She was acting weird the whole time. Quiet, checking her phone constantly, avoiding eye contact. I asked if she was nervous about flying, and she just shook her head. We got to the security line, and that's when everything went to shit. She was fidgeting with her carry-on, not really making eye contact. I figured she was just anxious about the flight or something. Then she looks up at me with this weird expression I'd never seen before, kind of detached, almost businesslike. "So, I've been thinking," she says, adjusting her bag strap like what she's about to say isn't about to completely destroy our relationship. "I think we should take a break while I'm gone." I stood there like I'd been slapped. A break? What the hell does that mean? She actually fucking shrugged. Like physically shrugged her shoulders, like I'd asked her if she wanted fries with her meal or something. "We'll talk about it when I get back," she says, completely casual. And then, I shit you not, she just turns and walks through security without another word. No hug, no kiss goodbye, nothing. Just walks away, leaving me standing there like she didn't just drop a nuclear bomb on 3 years together. I stood there for probably a full minute, people pushing past me, thinking maybe she'd turn around or something. She didn't. Just disappeared into the crowd with her rolling suitcase, probably already forgetting about me. The drive home was a blur, but my mind was racing. I kept calling her, over and over. At first, I thought it was bad reception. Maybe she just didn't hear her phone. Maybe she got pulled aside at security. I told myself a dozen stupid reasons why she wasn't picking up. I kept hitting redial, convinced she'd answer and say this was all some weird misunderstanding. But after the 10th call, it wasn't just my heart sinking. It was reality. Setting in like concrete. Straight to voicemail, every single time. That's when it hit me. She wasn't unavailable. She didn't want to talk to me. She had fucking blocked me. I sent a bunch of texts anyway. First, WTF was that? Then, please just talk to me. Then some less friendly stuff I won't repeat here. But deep down, I already knew. Nothing. Radio silence. The silence of someone who's already decided they're done. By the time I got home, I was switching between being completely confused and absolutely furious. I checked social media to see if she'd posted anything about what the hell was going on. That's when I discovered I was blocked. Blocked on Instagram, Facebook, even fucking LinkedIn. Who blocks their fiancé on LinkedIn? I tried calling again from my work phone. Blocked there too, somehow. She must have been busy in that security line, blocking me on every platform known to man. I spent the whole day in a daze. This makes no sense, right? 3 years together, planning a wedding, saving for a house, and she just drops, "We need a break at the airport," and then ghosts me like we met on Tinder last weekend? I was pacing like a caged animal, fists clenched, ready to put a hole in the wall. Not because of the break, not even because she blocked me. It was how she did it. Like I was nothing. Like I was a minor inconvenience she could delete from her life with a swipe and a tap. She didn't just walk away, she erased me. That night, still no word from her, I decided to check our joint bank account. And that's when the second bomb dropped. The account that had $25,000 the day before now had $13,000. She had cleaned out her half, $12,000 gone, transferred to her personal account the morning of her flight. I'm not a violent guy, but I punched a wall, broke 2 knuckles. Didn't even feel it until the next morning because I was so fucking angry. To this day, I'm still making payments on the ER visit for that stupid move. $12,000. That wasn't just numbers on a screen. That was every overtime shift, every weekend I skipped with the guys, every damn vacation I put off to build a life with her. She didn't just take the money. She took my time, my trust, my future. And she cashed it all in for a one-way ticket to Europe. The next day, I tried reaching out to her friends. None of them answered my calls or texts. I tried her parents. Her mom just gave me some bullshit about Casey needs some space and how I should respect her needs. They clearly had no idea their precious daughter had stolen our wedding savings and run off to Europe. By day 3, I was a mess. Hadn't showered, hadn't eaten much, hadn't slept. I called in sick to work. Called my buddy Mike and told him everything. He came over with a bottle of Jack and let me rant for like 4 hours straight. He kept saying I should tell everyone what she did, but I just couldn't. I was too fucking embarrassed. Who wants to admit their fiance dumped them at an airport, stole their money, and vanished? Day 4, I finally called my parents. My mom was shocked, kept asking if there were warning signs, things I'd missed. My dad's first question was, "Did you check the bank accounts?" Thanks, Dad. Bit late for that advice. By day 5, the shock was wearing off, and the cold reality was setting in. She wasn't calling back. She wasn't coming back with an apology. This wasn't some misunderstanding. She had planned this whole thing. The break, the blocking, the money. You don't accidentally drain a bank account and block someone on every platform. That's when I made my decision. Wedding? Canceled. Her moving in officially? She still had her old apartment with a roommate? Not happening. Our relationship? Dead and buried. I wanted to send her an email, tell her the wedding was off, that we were done, but I stopped myself. Why should I give her the satisfaction of knowing I'd already made that choice? She didn't deserve a heads up. She didn't deserve anything from me. She walked away without an explanation, and I wasn't about to give her the courtesy of closure. Not gonna lie to you all, it hurt. 3 years of my life gone in an instant. The future I'd planned, the person I thought I knew, all of it was just gone. My buddy Mike was the only one who knew the whole story at first. He'd come over almost every night that first week, making sure I ate something and didn't just sit around feeling sorry for myself. He kept trying to get me to tell our friends, but I just couldn't. The thought of saying it out loud to everyone we knew made it too real. By week 2, I finally got the courage to start calling vendors and canceling wedding stuff. Most of them were actually pretty understanding when I told them what happened, minus the stealing part. I left that detail out. Lost a few deposits, but some places gave me partial refunds, since it was still a couple months out. That's when I started getting angry. Really angry. Who the fuck does something like this to someone they supposedly love? It wasn't just the breakup, it was the way she did it. At an airport where I couldn't really react, blocking me everywhere so I couldn't even get an explanation, taking money we'd saved together for our future. The more I thought about it, the more I realized how calculated it all was. Week 3, I finally told a few more friends. Their reactions were mixed. Some were shocked and supportive, others seemed weirdly unsurprised, which made me wonder if they'd known something I didn't. One guy, Paul, actually had the balls to say, "Maybe she just needed space, bro." Yeah, and maybe she needed my money for that space too, right, Paul? We don't talk much anymore. By week 4, I was obsessively checking social media, using my friends' accounts to see if she'd posted anything. Nothing. Either she wasn't posting, or she had her friends on lockdown too. I even considered making a fake account to see her profiles, but that felt too stalkerish, even in my fucked up state. I also checked our bank accounts daily, watching for any new transactions. Nothing there either. She'd taken her $12,000 and that was it. I moved the rest of the money to my personal account and closed the joint one. Lesson fucking learned. That's also when I started debating whether to try to get the money back legally. Talked to a buddy who's a lawyer, and he said it was complicated. Since we'd both contributed to the account and weren't married yet, it would be hard to prove she wasn't entitled to it. Plus, I'd have to take her to small claims court, and the thought of seeing her in court made me sick. In the end, I decided to just let it go. Expensive lesson, but at least I found out who she really was before the wedding. The next week, I finally told my parents everything, including the money. My mom was devastated for me. My dad was pissed. He wanted to call Casey's parents and tell them what their daughter had done, but I asked him not to. Not because I was protecting her, but because I just wanted it all to be over. I also started clearing out her stuff that week, packed it all up in boxes and shoved them in the spare room. Not because I thought she deserved to get her stuff back, but because I couldn't stand looking at it anymore. Every time I saw her favorite coffee mug or that stupid throw pillow she loved, it was like getting punched in the gut all over again. Eventually, things started to get a little better. I was sleeping more, eating regularly again. Started hitting the gym to burn off some of the anger. Reconnected with some friends I hadn't seen in a while. I wasn't over it by any means, but I was functioning again. And then, just when I thought I was making progress, she called. Out of the fucking blue. 6 weeks of silence, and suddenly her name is lighting up my phone like nothing happened. I didn't want to answer when I saw her name, but she kept calling. I wondered what explanation she could give after all that. "Hey, just letting you know my flight gets in at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Can you pick me up?" Her voice was cheerful, casual, like nothing had happened. I almost dropped the phone. The sheer fucking audacity of this woman. 6 weeks of ghosting me, stealing our money, ruining our future, and she calls asking for a ride from the airport? "What does that have to do with me?" I said, trying to keep my voice steady. There was a pause, like she couldn't comprehend what I was saying. "What do you mean?" She actually sounded confused. I mean exactly what I said. Why would I pick you up? You broke up with me, stole our savings, and disappeared for 6 weeks. I didn't break up with you, she said, her voice getting defensive. I just said we needed a break while I was away. Same fucking thing. And the $12,000 you took? Was that just for fun? She went quiet for a second. I needed it for the trip. It's still our money. I'm still coming home to you. That's when I lost it. Coming home to me? Are you fucking kidding? You think you can just waltz back into my life after what you pulled? After blocking me everywhere and stealing our wedding money? I didn't steal anything, she shot back. Half of that money was mine. And I didn't block you. I just needed space without you constantly texting me. Space? You want to talk about space? How about the space in our bank account where $12,000 used to be? I was practically shouting at this point. Look, I know you're upset, she said in this condescending tone that made me want to throw my phone through a window. But I think you're overreacting. We can talk about this when I get home. This isn't your home anymore, and we're not talking about anything. We're done. You don't mean that, she said, her voice suddenly softer. We've been together for 3 years. We can work through this. No, we can't. You ended this relationship. You made your choice. Don't call me again. I hung up and immediately blocked her number. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold the phone. The fucking nerve of this woman to act like what she did was just some minor inconvenience. The notes were all some variation of the same bullshit. How much she loved me, how we shouldn't throw away what we had, how sorry she was for making me feel abandoned. Not once did she actually apologize for what she did, only for how it made me feel. Classic narcissist move. By evening, I had a decision to make. Casey had been texting me from a new number, since I'd blocked her original one, begging for a face-to-face meeting. Part of me wanted to just keep ignoring her and move on with my life. But another part needed closure, needed to look her in the eye and hear whatever pathetic excuse she had for what she'd done. So I agreed to meet her at a coffee shop the next day. Public place, easy to leave if needed. I had no idea what I was going to say, but I knew one thing for sure. There was no coming back from this, no matter what she said. I got there 15 minutes early, grabbed a corner table with a good view of the door, and ordered just a black coffee. My stomach was in knots. I was afraid I might lose my shit completely. 6 weeks of anger doesn't just disappear. My buddy Mike sat a few tables away as backup, pretending to work on his laptop. Probably overkill, but after everything that happened, I wasn't taking chances. When she walked in, I barely recognized her. She looked different. Tanned from her European adventure, obviously, but also somehow smaller, less like the confident woman I fell for and more like someone playing a role. She had clearly put effort into her appearance. Hair done, makeup perfect, wearing that blue dress I always liked. Trying to remind me of what I was throwing away, I guess. She spotted me and did this weird half-smile, half-nervous look. I didn't stand up when she approached, didn't hug her, just nodded at the chair across from me. She reached across the table like she was going to take my hand. I pulled back and crossed my arms. The message was clear. Don't touch me. Alex, I know you're angry, she started, and you have every right to be. But I think there's been a huge misunderstanding. I laughed, sharp and cold. Don't insult me, Casey. Don't sit there, dressed up like you're playing pretend, and tell me this was some misunderstanding. You ghosted me, stole our money, and left me to rot while you played house with your ex. That wasn't stress. That was betrayal. Own it. She flinched but tried to keep her composure. It wasn't like that. I needed time to clear my head. No, I snapped. You needed time to figure out if Jake was still an option. You didn't take a break to clear your head. You took a break to cheat without consequences. There was a brief moment of silence. Then I leaned forward, locking eyes with her. Why did you really need this break, Casey? Tell me the truth this time. She shifted uncomfortably, glancing around the coffee shop like she was looking for an escape route. I just told you. Bullshit, I cut her off. Nobody ghosts their fiancé and steals 12 grand because they're overwhelmed. What was the real reason? She stared at her untouched coffee for what felt like forever. When she finally looked up, there was something different in her eyes. Defeat, maybe. I needed to see someone, she admitted quietly. For the last time. My stomach dropped even though I'd suspected something like this all along. Who is that someone? She shook her head. It doesn't matter. It's over now. And I realized what a mistake I made. I should have been honest with you from the start. Yeah, no shit. So you needed a break to go see someone else? And you thought stealing our wedding fund to finance it was totally fine? I know how it looks, she said, looking down at her hands again. And I really needed to disconnect completely. My friends thought it would be good for me to have a clean break to figure things out. Your friends, I repeated. The same friends who've been calling me, telling me I'm acting like a spoiled child? Those friends? She had the decency to look embarrassed. They don't understand the whole situation. They were just trying to protect me. Protect you from what exactly? From taking responsibility for your actions? From the consequences of betraying someone who loved you? She ignored that and pressed on. Look, about the money. I know how it looks, but I always intended to pay it back. That was our wedding fund, and I'm still committed to our wedding. That's when I lost it and started laughing. Our wedding, I finally managed to say. There is no wedding, Casey. I canceled everything weeks ago. The color drained from her face. You, what? But we were supposed to talk when I got back. You can't just make that decision without me. Kind of like how you decided we needed a break without me? Or how you decided to take our money without discussing it? Or how you decided to block me everywhere without warning? I leaned forward. You don't get to dictate the terms anymore. She switched tactics, her eyes welling up with tears. Classic Casey move when backed into a corner. I made a mistake, okay? I was stressed and confused and scared. Can't you understand that? After 3 years together, don't I deserve a second chance? I took a deep breath. I'd anticipated this and had my response ready. Here's what I understand, Casey. I understand that when someone shows you who they really are, you should believe them. You showed me that when things get tough, you run. You showed me that you prioritize yourself and your friends over us. You showed me that you're willing to lie and steal to get what you want. That's not someone I want to spend my life with. She stared at me. Then she excused herself to go to the bathroom. I noticed she took her purse with her, which seemed weird for just a bathroom break. Mike glanced over at me with a, "You okay?" Look. I nodded. 15 minutes passed. No Casey. I asked a woman coming out of the bathroom if there was anyone still in there. Nope, empty. That's when I realized what had happened. She ditched through the back door. Couldn't even finish the conversation like an adult. Mike came over and sat down. Dude, I think she bailed. Yep, I said, surprisingly calm. Typical. When the conversation doesn't go her way, she runs. We finished our coffees in silence. But for the first time in a while, I felt in control. I'd said my piece, stood my ground, and she was the one who ran. As we left, my phone buzzed. Casey, using a friend's number. She claimed I wasn't being fair or reasonable and told me to reach out when I was ready to really talk. I showed Mike, and we both cracked up. The audacity. I deleted the message, blocked the number, and kept walking. The next day, I got a text from Ryan, another friend in our circle who wasn't super close with Casey. Hey man, weird question, but did Casey ever mention a guy named Jake to you? Jake. The name sounded vaguely familiar, but I couldn't place it. I texted back, maybe? Who is he? Ryan. I think he's an ex of hers from before you guys met. Jessica just told me she saw them together in Barcelona a couple weeks ago. Thought you should know. My stomach dropped. Barcelona wasn't on the itinerary Casey's friends had posted. And seeing an ex? That didn't just sting. It cracked something open inside me. But I told myself maybe it wasn't a big deal. Maybe they just bumped into each other. Maybe Jessica was mistaken, reading too much into it. But deep down, I knew. That gut feeling I'd been ignoring for months? It wasn't paranoia. It was instinct. I did some digging, scrolling back through old conversations where Casey had mentioned past relationships. There it was. Jake. The college boyfriend she dated for 2 years before we met. The one she always brushed off as just part of my past. The same one she said she hadn't spoken to in years. The same guy she always seemed to dodge conversations about. I called Ryan immediately. What exactly did Jessica see? She was there on business and saw them at this restaurant. Said they looked cozy, holding hands across the table. She took a picture because she was so shocked. Want me to send it? I hesitated for a second, some pathetic part of me still hoping this was a mistake. But then I said, yeah, send it. The picture came through a minute later. There they were, Casey and some guy I'd never met, sitting at a candlelit table, hands intertwined, looking at each other like, well, like we used to look at each other. And that was it. The photo was just confirmation of the gut feeling I'd been ignoring for months. The timestamp on the photo was from 2 weeks into her trip, right around when she stopped posting group shots with her friends on social media. I sat there staring at the photo, waiting to feel something. Rage, betrayal, heartbreak. But all I felt was validation, like the final piece of a puzzle clicking into place. It all made sense now. It wasn't about wedding stress or needing space. It was about Jake. It all proved that my decision was right. I sent the photo to Mike with no caption. He called almost immediately. Holy shit, was all he said at first. Then, you okay? Weirdly, yes, I replied. I just feel confirmed. Like I've been gaslighting myself thinking maybe I overreacted, but nope, my instincts were spot on. What are you going to do? Nothing, I said. I don't need to confront her with this. I already made my decision. This just proves it was the right one. After that whole Barcelona photo shit, I decided it's time to move on and focus on my life. I erased anything left for her in my memories and in my sight, and even told mutual friends I didn't want updates about her life. Clean break, no looking back. About 2 months in, I met this girl named Olivia at one of my buddy's housewarming party. She showed up with these amazing homemade cookies. Turned out she went to college with my friend's girlfriend. We got talking in the kitchen while everyone else was getting loud in the living room, and I don't know if it was just the right timing or what, but we clicked instantly. She's this badass graphic designer who doesn't take shit from anyone and has this laugh that makes everyone around her start laughing too. First few dates, I was super cautious. Told her I'd just gotten out of something serious and wasn't looking to jump into anything. She was cool with it. Said she'd just gotten out of something too and was taking it slow. No pressure, just enjoying each other's company. Fast forward 3 months, and I realized I hadn't thought about Casey in weeks. Olivia and I were spending most nights together, and for the first time since everything went down, I felt like myself again. Last weekend, I finally brought Olivia to Sunday dinner at my parents' place. My mom, who had been practically planning Casey's funeral after what she did to me, took about 5 minutes with Olivia before she was showing her my embarrassing baby photos and telling her all my childhood stories. My dad pulled me aside after dinner and said, "This one's a keeper, son. She looks at you like you hung the damn moon." Coming from my stoic as fuck father, that's basically a marriage blessing. Here's where shit gets wild. We're all sitting around having dessert when the doorbell rings. My mom goes to answer it, and I hear this familiar voice in the hallway. Casey. Fucking Casey. She's standing there looking like she just walked off a runway, holding a chocolate box. My mom, bless her ice-cold heart, didn't even invite her in. Just stood in the doorway blocking her path like a 5'4" bouncer. I walk up behind my mom, and Casey's face falls when she sees me. Then her eyes slide past me to where Olivia is standing, and I swear I could actually see the moment she realized what was happening. "Alex, can we talk? Just for a minute?" she asks, all soft and pleading like she used to do when she wanted something. "Whatever you've got to say, you can say it here," I told her, feeling Olivia's hand slip into mine. Casey's eyes got all watery. Classic move. I made a huge mistake. Jake and I broke up last month. He was using me the whole time. He doesn't want commitment like you did. And I miss us. I miss you. "That sounds like a you problem," I said, squeezing Olivia's hand. "I moved on, Casey. You should too." Casey starts doing that half-crying thing, looking at my mom for support. My mom, who I've never heard say a harsh word about anyone in her life, hits her with, "I think it's time for you to leave, dear. The only person welcome at my table who broke my son's heart is the one who's here to help him put it back together." Fucking savage. Casey looks at Olivia, who's just standing there calm as can be. "You don't know him like I do," Casey says. "We have 3 years of history." Olivia smiles. Not mean, just confident. "And I'm looking forward to making a lifetime of new history with him. Have a good night." Casey actually stomps her foot like a toddler. "Alex, please. We can work this out. I'll pay back the money. All of it. Just give me another chance." My dad, who hadn't said a word this whole time, steps forward. "Young lady, my son made his decision. We all make choices in life. You made yours in an airport 6 months ago. Now respect his choice and leave my house." She leaves, mascara running down her face, but not before saying, "You'll regret this. We were perfect together." I just closed the door and went back to dessert with my family and Olivia. Later that night, I got a text from Casey's roommate saying she came home drunk, crying about how I'd moved on so quickly and replaced her like she meant nothing. The roommate thought I should know Casey was in a bad place. I didn't respond. Not my circus, not my monkeys anymore. The next day, Olivia and I were having breakfast when she asks, "You okay after all that drama yesterday?" I think about it for a minute, then realize something. Yeah, I actually am. 6 months ago, I was destroyed. Today, I'm just annoyed she interrupted dessert. Olivia laughs, steals a piece of my bacon and says, "Your mom is my new hero, by the way." And that's where I am now, Reddit. Sometimes the trash takes itself out, and sometimes the universe sends you someone better when you least expect it. Casey showed me exactly who she was when she walked away at that airport. I finally believed her.